I know all the days are starting to kind of run together because, well, this entire year's just been spent mostly indoors, scared of a virus that has a 0.01% chance of killing you. But I seem to recall that the Supreme Court of Michigan overruled the tyrannical rule, to use rule twice in the same sentence, of Gretchen Whitmer. Now, I have the article pulled up here from October 3rd, where it says Michigan Supreme Court rules against Governor emergency powers. And before we get into the more current news, I just want to refresh everybody's memory why she was overruled. So Michigan's Supreme Court ruled Friday that Governor Gretchen Whitmer lacks the authority to extend or declare states of emergency in relation to the COVID-19 pandemic. The Democratic governor issued an executive order declaring a state of emergency in March and explained it via another executive order in April. The Republican-controlled legislature passed a resolution to extend the state of emergency, but only until April 30th. It is the 16th of November. Whitmer has since issued many more orders related to the pandemic. Whitmer cited two state laws, the Emergency Management Act of 1976. Raise your hand if you were alive then. Exactly. And the Emergency Power Act of the Governor Act in 1945. Raise your hand if your grandparents were alive then. As granting her the authority to continue the emergency orders past April 30th. Well, let's just flash back to the fact that they ruled October 3rd is the 16th of November, and she's not given up any of her powers. And remember, I still feel very, very bad for the fact that she was almost maybe not kidnapped by a group of people who were subverted by the FBI. Just saying. That was a very tragic thing that was thwarted. Yeesh. In a 4-3 majority opinion, the state's high court said she did not have the authority. So that should have been the end of the lockdowns, right? Citing those two acts from a bygone age, and she had to give up all of her power in the next 21 days. Now, it's been a while since I've had a formal math class, but I think 21 days past October 3rd would put it at October 24th. You can fact check me on that one. But why the fuck is she announcing new lockdowns on Thanksgiving Eve? Why is this next lockdown going to take effect on the 18th of November? Some 25 days after the 21 days have passed. So she is superseding the Supreme Court of Michigan, not the Supreme Court of the United States, by 46 days. Why is this going to take effect? I have no idea, but we'll find out. The situation has never been more dire. That's what a tyrant would say. They want you to live in fear. Whitmer said Sunday, "We are at the precipice and we need to take some action. I need more power," is how you would probably want to read that. Starting Wednesday, in-person classes at high schools and colleges statewide and eat-in dining restaurants and bars will be suspended until December 8th, and it'll be continued further as long as nobody wants to actually challenge her or drag her out of the building. Not saying you should do that, but yeah, when you're between the rock and a hard place. And why is it only high schools and colleges? Now, most colleges and universities are already just doing online schooling. That's why there was a big hubbub over the summer when foreign exchange students or kids that got scholarships to like Michigan University or Michigan State couldn't come into the country, therefore their visas were rescinded, and that makes sense. If you're just doing online schooling, you can fucking do it from anywhere, so stop trying to rig the system like that. But because she is a Democrat, I guess she was really hoping that those additional votes would really turn out in Ann Arbor, but they already had that taken care of with all of those mail-in ballots anyway, so. According to Whitmer, all organized sports and group exercise classes will be canceled. So be miserable. Don't do the things that show the best outcome to cure your depression. I'm talking about moving and exercising. That is the most reliable way to improve your mood. And then just go back and make sure that that Peloton stock just continues to go through the roof. I don't get it. However, gyms will remain open for individual exercises with strict safety measures. So, you can exercise in a cube. And I know, God, I can't believe I haven't been able to go to a regular gym in... it was a week after my birthday. It was like mid-March, and they've had retarded safety procedures since then, and I refuse to go in with a fucking mask because when I exercise, I sweat like a whore in church. And I just want to go back and pick up heavy weights and put them down. Like, I've got a pretty decent setup around my place, but nothing's going to replace a squat rack or 80, 90-pound dumbbells. Like, for fuck's sakes already. But no, keep everybody at home scared and Fearful. Let's see who else gets to partake in this. And professional and college athletics will be allowed to continue, as well as outdoor dining and takeout. Whatever. In addition, casinos, movie theaters, bowling alleys, ice skating rinks, bingo halls, arcades. They're still arcades? Okay, cool. And indoor water parks will have temporarily shut down. Oh, okay, of course. And all businesses are asked to allow employees to work from home if possible. You tell me how a lifeguard is supposed to work at home. How the guy who makes sure that the bowling shoes or the rental ice skates don't stink to high heaven is going to do that from the comfort of their own home. Or what are those old folks going to do when they can't, leave the mortuaries that they call Michigan long-term care facilities and go out and play bingo? Like, there are probably some old fuckers there that are just scratching the shit out of their arm, the fact that they can't play their 45-card spread. You guys know how much I hate this, and I'm sure you guys do as well. The biggest overreaction, once this is all taken care of, I hope, but I'm not exactly optimistic based on what the top doctor Saint Fauci has been spewing here lately. The fact that we'll ever go back to something resembling normal. This will be viewed as the biggest overreaction of all time. Probably have to look back on it, and it would be my kids' generation. We won't be able to properly view this in proper context during my lifetime. Gatherings inside homes will also be limited to 2 households at a time. Oh, okay, so you're allowed to have one friend and their family come over. That's it. If you guys go along with this and you're in Michigan or you're in any of these other states that are going currently into lockdowns and you're following these procedures, I think you need to reassess the relationship that you have with you and your loved ones. I'm just saying, get a fucking grip. Health officials strongly urge families to pick a single household to interact with over the next 3 weeks. That is just shockingly dim. And consider the fact that they're still letting grade school kids and middle school kids go to in-person classes, and I'm not sure. I know up here in Canada there's a couple of different places where they go a certain amount of the week, like they go 2 or 3 times a week to a physical school, and then they'll do online learning for like Monday or Friday or Thursday and Friday. I'm not too sure how it works. But you try and tell your kid that, yeah, okay, Timmy can come over, but for the next 3 weeks, you can't have Johnny or LeVar come over. You go ahead and try to drill that into your kid's head. The fact that, oh yeah, we're so scared of this virus and you might kill grandma if you want to have one of your friends over. Like, go fuck off. This shit ain't going to work. And the fact that you have to remember that Whitmer's up for re-election in the upcoming midterm in 2022. Just keep that in the back of your mind. And if she gets re-elected, you guys deserve everything that is coming to you. But I really don't think that she will. Not after all the fucking goofy shit that she pulls and all the sympathy plays that she makes. And somebody else who's, well, a lot closer to the situation is also telling her to go fuck her hat. Scott Atlas, who Joe Biden thinks shouldn't speak up on the situation because he's not an infectious disease expert, even though he is a well-respected doctor in the community, as it were. Yeah, he's telling Michiganders to reject Whitmer's lockdown because, I don't know, maybe he has a grip on the fucking situation. Dr. Scott Atlas, a member of Trump's administrative coronavirus task force, has encouraged members of the public in Michigan to rise up against new coronavirus restrictions put in place by Michigan Democrat Governor Gretchen Whitmer on Sunday. Today's orders will take effect Wednesday, November 18th. Is not a blanket stay-at-home action like it was in the spring. I don't know. Should we go back and read the things that are getting locked down again? Because it sure sounds like exactly the same shit that took place not but 8 months ago. I'm just saying. And why is it 3 weeks? Because that's 21 days, and it was 15 weeks to slow the spread. I don't know, man. There's some funny new math going on. The order leaves open work that cannot be performed from oh good, it cannot be performed from home. That's good. Including for manufacturing, construction, and health occupations. By the way, those were deemed essential services the first time around, so they're just trying to double talk this. This is great. Outdoor gatherings in Michigan in mid to late November. Good luck with that one. Outdoor dining and parks remain open. The only thing that you're going to be doing outdoors is snowshoeing and cross-country skiing. Like, okay, up here, I know it's different, not like a latitudinal level, but we've had snow on the ground here for the best part of a month now. And outside of running every day, I'm not exactly queuing up to, have my dinners outside. And especially off the Great Lakes where it's, humid as a motherfucker. I don't think it's going to be too terribly dissimilar there. Individualized activities with distancing and face masks are still allowed outside as well, because we're just fucking flying by the seat of our pants. We're the party of science, don't you know? Yeah. Totally disregard the fact that a UV light is shown to actually kill the virus in the air, but whatever. Retail shopping, public transit, restaurant takeout, personal care services such as haircuts by appointment, and individualized exercise at a gym with extra spacing between machines. Okay, outside of the big box gyms, like the Planet Fitnesses, 24-hour Fitnesses, your big chains out there. Those are normally huge facilities, but I know the best gyms that I've ever gone to are locally owned, and they set up in a strip mall, and they don't necessarily have the biggest fucking floor space, and they can't afford to space shit out like these half-wits would have you believe. So yeah, congratulations. Open up your building, make sure that everything is properly run, increase their sanitation budget, and only let in like 25 to 30% of the people that could possibly be in there at any one time, and enforce that with a bunch of roided out fuckers. That will not go well. I'm just saying. But everybody's supposed to be as scared of this virus as the doctors want you to believe. I don't know about that. So yeah, they just reverberate the different closed facilities that's apparently different from the original lockdown without making any kind of a distinction. Yeah, okay. Services, yeah, haircuts by appointment. You know what? I knew some fucking freelance hairdressers who were still doing haircuts on the side. So what's the difference? What, now they can officially use their shops, even though they mostly were during the time when we were locked down? So yeah, whatever. Michigan has seen fewer outbreaks associated with elementary and middle schools, and younger children are most in need of in-person instruction, the state continued. In-person K-8 schooling may continue if it is done with strong mitigation, including mask requirements based on discussion between local health and school officials. Child care also remains open to support working parents. But just because the kids don't get, if we're going to use their logic, if the kids don't get sick, they can still transmit the virus, and then they're going to end up killing grandma. So what are we doing here? I mean, come on. Stupid. It's all fucking stupid. It's just seeing how much they can get away with, honestly. Responding to a tweet containing a graphic showing what was open and closed, Atlas responded, "The only way to stop this is that people rise up. You get what you expect. Or accept. Bitchin' metal band, listen to their new signal. Fucking rips. In the spring, we listened to public health experts, stomped the curve, and saved thousands of lives together. Now we must channel that same energy and join forces again to protect our families, frontline workers, and small businesses," Whitmer stated. Yuck. Right now, there are thousands of cases a day and hundreds of thousands of deaths a week in Michigan. Oh, hundreds of deaths a week in Michigan. Really? Is there? I gotta pull up these numbers here. Yeah, outside of a couple of outlier days, I don't necessarily see any sort of, like 125 on the 13th, but then 63, like it's all kind of just averaged out. I wouldn't necessarily get so fucking alarmist about this shit. And because Michigan does a great job of not breaking down where these deaths occur, is it still happening in long-term care facilities, nursing homes, Whitmer? Yeah, we'll never know. We'll never know because she's just a tyrant and doesn't care. Because, and here's the thing. Yesterday, 3 deaths. Hundreds a week, though. Hundreds a week. Yeah, the only time that was probably accurate was between, the 7th and the 13th. And even that is thrown wildly off by the 2 outlier days of 87 and 125. So, you guys should run your numbers after your supposed leaders want to make these outlandish claims. But somebody's doing it right. Like, okay, the right-leaning Supreme Court curtailed her powers. She didn't listen to it, and they kind of cucked out and aren't doing fucking anything for it. Well, let's see if the GOP party itself is actually going to take any sort of action towards this. In a public statement on Monday, Michigan House of Representatives Matt Maddock called for the impeachment of Governor Gretchen Whitmer after she announced sweeping new stay-at-home orders, once again locking down the state of Michigan. Today, myself and a growing list of Michigan legislators have decided that Governor Whitmer has crossed the line and will be calling for impeach Whitmer hearings. The list of violations is long, and the call is overdue. Well, I've outlined a couple for you, so hopefully this helps there, Matt. Whitmer's orders, which go in effect at 12 a.m. on Tuesday morning, closely resemble lockdown set in place at the outset of the pandemic, which we went on to explain. And apparently it'll only be for a 20-day period, but you can literally hear me winking at that. Oh, and he means business here because in a post made to Facebook, the most important of books, Maddock informed the public that he is supported by a growing number of litigators, viewed her acts as rash and not in the best interest of the state. Among the grievances listed, Maddock claimed that Whitmer had ignored court orders. That's what I said. Violated constitutional rights. Oh, I think disbanding the right to assemble is somewhere in there. And ignored the state's rules of due process. Lock 'em up! Lock 'em up! These, per Maddock, are grounds for impeachment. Well, considering the fact that Nancy Pelosi decided to impeach Donald Trump on literally nothing, I think, he actually has a much more solid case. Will it stick? I don't know what the breakdown of Michigan's Congress looks like, so it's tough to say. As of yet, no formal charge or hearings has been made against the governor. Well, we are literally hours out from when this guy made this post, so, a little tough to make things move that quickly. We all know how efficient government is. Whitmer's orders will almost certainly pose a roadblock on Michigan's path to economic recovery. According to the United States Bureau of Labor Statistics, over the past 5 months, Michigan had cut its unemployment rate down to 8.5%, a dramatic improvement from the 24% seen in April. Whitmer's lockdown aimed at slowing the spread of the virus. Literally, all you're doing is just pushing it further into the future. It's like these Democratic governors are telling you that procrastination is a good thing. In a release made by Tiffany Brown, Whitmer's press secretary, oh boy, this is going to be mental gymnastics 101. The governor's office said it wouldn't concern itself with Maddock's call for her impeachment. There we go, because she's just a little tyrant and doesn't give a shit about anybody else's opinions. And Godspeed to Michigan, Michiganders. I've heard all of the different denonyms. And I hope there are huge anti-lockdown protests. I hope that it's also nice and sunny in the days leading up to Thanksgiving and people can go out there and express their First Amendment rights. That would be terrific and that would be lovely to see, and you bet your ass I will be covering it. But there's also somebody else who's pretty important when it comes to, mirroring these simplistic and idiotic lockdown procedures. Now, up in Canada, if you're unfamiliar, the equivalent of a governor is a premier. And we've had Manitoba, Ontario, Quebec all go into lockdown. There's a couple of holdouts out there, and one looks likely to install more lockdowns because even though he has a hyper majority in his legislature, he's a little bit of a bitch. And hopefully he takes the advice of the people who are telling him not to lock down. And this is how we'll wrap this one up. Premier Kenney, my premier, urged to ignore fear-mongering doctors calling for lockdown measures. The Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms, which sounds like a great little institution, is calling on Alberta Premier Jason Kenney to disregard a November 9th letter from doctors demanding further lockdown measures. The ones who don't listen to the science, the WHO's science that says lockdowns will have greater effect when they're put in place than the actual virus will. So seems like partisan hackery. And when it comes in Canada, we're not immune from the same mind virus that affects all the intellectuals out there. They are still very, very liberal, and the American style liberal, which mean unthinking fearmongers. The JCCF said in the press release, these lockdown measures violate the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. When has that ever stopped a politician? By restricting people's ability to move, travel, associate, assemble, and worship. The November 9th letter speaks about a growth in cases, but barely anybody's dying, by the way. The letter fails to mention COVID-19 deaths peaked in April and May, and they have declined and remained low. Thank you for finishing the sentence for me. John Carpe, a constitutional lawyer and the president at the JCCF, said in the press release, the Alberta Health Services is clear there is no second wave of COVID-19 deaths. Listen to the science. How about that? Play by your own goddamn rules. Carpe said ignoring this data is fear-mongering. The doctor said in the letter, hospitalization and ICU admissions are at an all-time high. These doctors failed to mention on November 9th, Alberta Health Services said 207 people were hospitalized. That is definitely overrunning all the hospitals, considering we have one city of 1 million people, another one of about 750,000. I live in a city that's about 75,000 people, but 207 people are hospitalized, and 43 of them were in the ICU. I think there's enough beds in a single hospital for that. There are 8,515 hospital beds in Alberta. 207 people are hospitalized. I need to see some numbers on who those 275 people are, because I think we know the comorbidities page, and I think we understand that certain people who are very unhealthy, people who are very old, are much more susceptible to being hospitalized. So if it wasn't the coof that was going to catch him, it was probably going to be the cold anyways. Kerpe said Kenney should not overreact to COVID-19. I hope he listens, because he's outside of that initial lockdown. We were one of the first provinces to open back up again, very slowly, albeit, but he hasn't even made a move to say that he would be locking down the province again. I haven't heard anything out of them lately. There's been a bunch of ruffled feathers, especially at the mayoral levels in a bunch of different places. Fucking Don Iveson, the mayor of Edmonton, is the biggest pussy I've ever seen in my life. And he's been pushing for more stringent COVID lockdowns, and he's been doing it. They were one of the first cities, Edmonton, this is, to have a mandatory mask policy, and this was early summer. I can't necessarily pinpoint the date, but he's been a total bitch when it comes to this entire situation. And our mayor here, Bill Given's been no different. He's definitely a reactionary. I forget the exact date, but it was at the end of October there when we had a mandatory mask policy, even though less than a handful of people in this area have died. So don't want to marginalize those people, but come on now. I'm sure more people have drank themselves to death this summer. Well, I can see the tents popping up all over the place, so I know that more people have been affected by the lockdowns than the actual virus here. So if you have a little tyrannical governor or premier in your state or province, make your voice heard. I'm making my voice heard because I don't want to have to see everybody else have to suffer from this lockdown. I'll still be making videos and shouting at goofy, overreactive governors, and I fear I will have to make more videos when it comes to stupid Whitmer, and I hope I don't have to make a takedown video of Jason Kenney, because he seems like he's pretty on the level, except the bulk of his party is made up of a bunch of do-nothing conservatives, and Con is very much a part of their entire ethos. But I thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.